As many of you wrestling fans know, the wrestling world was saddened by the death this past week of Eddie Gilbert. We were notified that on February 18th in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Eddie had passed away of apparent heart failure.
A situation where Dave and I and our association with wrestling over the years have had the opportunity to become acquainted with a lot of wrestlers, but rarely, if ever, have we had a situation where a third-generation wrestler we have known since pre-teens and watched him develop into a consummate professional wrestler.
Eddie, at first appearance, was physically too small to accomplish much in the wrestling business, but through dedication, hard work, friendly smile outside the ring, all of those, he reached great success.
We just want to take this opportunity to, with great respect, to pay tribute to a real warrior, Eddie Gilbert.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.
February the 18th. Hello again, everybody. Randy Hill's here, and it's Talking Memphis Wrestling. Now, I normally every week say what we're going to have the next week, and we usually promote that through the week, and we have done that. But last minute, there's a couple of things that we felt that it was important to make changes and cover the two things that we want to cover today. We will return with our timeline next week on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Now, you saw the way that the wrestling show was opened in 1995. Very, very sad. Adam, do you still have that? Because if you do, can you replay that right now? Because there's people coming in that didn't see it. So if we can see that again, I'd like to see it.
As many of you wrestling fans know, the wrestling world was saddened by the death this past week of Eddie Gilbert. We were notified that on February 18th in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Eddie had passed away of apparent heart failure.
A situation where Dave and I and our association with wrestling over the years have had the opportunity to become acquainted with a lot of wrestlers, but rarely, if ever, have we had a situation where a third-generation wrestler we have known since pre-teens and watched him develop into a consummate professional wrestler.
Eddie, at first appearance, was physically too small to accomplish much in the wrestling business, but through dedication, hard work, friendly smile outside the ring, all of those, he reached great success.
We just want to take this opportunity to, with great respect, to pay tribute to a real warrior, Eddie Gilbert.
We will certainly have more to say when we bring the panel in. We have more video from Eddie Gilbert, much more. We will show you The Rock, Dwayne Johnson's first appearance on TV5 Wrestling, as well as we are showing, without showing the music, which we do not own the rights to. They use the music to dance, and I put it up on my Facebook page. It's tremendous. If you've never seen it, go to my Facebook and check that out. Folks, in a little bit, I'm going to give you the opportunity to put a link on there, and anybody who wants to have talk about Eddie Gilbert, anybody will be welcome to do that by following the link. Hello, Frank Seaton. I want to give everybody, just in case we have technical issues, what's going on here in Jonesboro, Arkansas, northeast Arkansas. We have a weather situation going on here. It is a winter storm watch in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It started snowing several hours ago. We're supposed to get, originally they said 6 to 8 inches of snow. It's currently 21 degrees. You see thanks to Adam for that, the weather radar right there, and you see what's going on there. It's 21 degrees with the wind chill temperature is 7 degrees. So I can look out my window. Man, as Todd says, in Kentucky, central Kentucky, there's a winter storm warning there. Want to bring in whatever of the panel we have. I know Pat Trammell is in the house. So I'll ask him two questions. First question is, how is the weather there in wherever you are? Because normally you live in Birmingham, but you travel more than anybody knows. So
Well,
I want you to comment with that about the weather, then comment about the way we opened the show with the news on Eddie Gilbert back in 1995.
well, we've had the carpet replaced in the home studio, and the furniture's been moved around, so I might look a little bit different. The dogs are not allowed in here. We're very fortunate. We've had a little bit of drizzle, and it's cold. Let me look real quickly at how cold it is, but it's not. We're not getting near what our friends north of us and where you are, Randy, and all our friends in Arkansas and Memphis. I think it says it feels like 17 degrees in Memphis, and there's a winter storm warning. So let's just hope um, everybody stays safe.
One thing,
About the opening day.
yeah, can we hold up on that talk real quick? Because Michael just sent me a message and said his time will be brief on the show today because he is going to have to cut in school clothing and that sort of thing. So we want to get right to, and we'll give you practice on I did the weather, Pat did the weather, now Michael St. John can do the weather in Arab, Alabama, and then Michael, the question that I will ask Pat, but then didn't let him answer it. If you saw the opening that we did, the code opening with the announcement that Lance and Dave did, the passing away of hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert, 30 years ago today. So there you go, start with the weather.
Well, I'll start with the weather. Is that it's starting to move into our area. It's hitting that northwest corner of Alabama, and all the principals, the news stations, of course, TV is all over it. But it's incredibly important. We sort of have built our reputation on sports and weather on Fun Radio over the years, and anytime the snow or the ice or tornado or anything's coming in, people are tuning in. We're getting a massive call-ins and. Well, more so on social media, people wanting to know what's the story. But the problem is the schools, they want to get ahead of the game. So some of them are planning to be, closing early. Some of them are going to be planning to come in late. Some of them are closing all day. And it's constantly in flux. I just literally walked into the studio and got a call from the lady at Wallace State on my cell phone and said, hey, we're not going to open tomorrow until noon. Well, and she said, and that may change. So we're watching it. We don't have any of the environment of the snow or the weather affecting us right now. They're saying that it's going to landfall in our coverage area around 10:30 tonight is the latest we've got from Channel 31. And we work with Jeff and the crew over there. But people just taking precautions, and certainly to be understood. And add to this that about 3 weeks ago, we sort of got blindsided in that we got more than what they said we were going to get. This time they're going to say that we're getting less, but I'm having to literally update. And Adam, who really helps a lot on this tonight, his daughter is his 8-month-old daughter is under the weather, and he's having to show his attention to her, and well, he should. So it sort of falls back on me. So unfortunately, I'll stay as long as I can. But like I said, if I get something that comes in that I got to leave for, I'll have to take take leave, but I will promise you I'll stay as long as I can because we got a couple of good, interesting subjects tonight. And just quickly on the, and I don't want to usurp Pat because I know he's got some great comments to make, but when you played that video, just for me, I remember that. And I was in St. Louis at the time and got notice, got word of that when they got word of it, right as they got word of it. And it just, I tell you, it's hard to come on the air following that because it's still sad 30 years later because he was such a great talent, a generational talent, somebody that I think would have climbed up to the top. And to lose him the way we did, when we did, is just heartbreaking.
I'll tell you the story of how I experienced, how I got the news, all that in just a few minutes. But let's go with Pat Trammell right now from Birmingham, Alabama, and he's in Birmingham. So I'm sure, Pat, you had never seen that opening deal. Lance and Dave, your comments on the February the 18th, 1995 shocking news of the death of Eddie Gilbert.
Well, I didn't see it live, obviously, but we lose wrestlers, and we've lost a lot of them, and it's always unfortunate. But for me, when I heard that, that's almost like family, but because I grew up watching, his dad and Eddie Marlin and that generation before, and he was born into Memphis wrestling, and it's just like almost a member of the family. And I think everybody saw him come in, as Dave said, undersized but scrappy, and worked his way up to I think he had a WWF run, and I mean, just a fantastic professional, relatively young at 33 years old, with a lot of life and living in front of him. And so that one kind of hits a little bit different. It really does, because of his dad, it felt like it was part of the family.
Now, Eddie Gilbert was a few months older than me, and we'll give everybody the information, and we have a caption up there that we can show you on that. Eddie Gilbert was born August the 14th, 1961. August the 14th, 1961. I was born December the 10th, 1961. Eddie Gilbert passed away February the 18th, 1995. February the 18th, 1995, at age 33 years old. February the 18th was on a Saturday, and that Saturday we did Memphis TV, and that particular Saturday I was driving, and my passenger was Whoopi D of PG-13. Back in the early days, I had a cell phone for the very first time in '89, but didn't keep it long. That you got Romans charges back then and all kinds of stuff, so that went away pretty quick. But by this time, I did have a cell phone, and so we were probably about 30 minutes on this side of Nashville, leaving Memphis, Tennessee after television. I got a phone call, which was strange because after TV, because I just saw him a few hours earlier. I was kind of surprised because he normally hardly ever at that point in time. Buddy Wayne didn't very rarely went to Nashville, but he called me, and I was surprised to hear from him. Eddie Gilbert was wrestling in Puerto Rico, where Greg's brother and Buddy's son was the booker there, and Ken Wayne had brought Eddie Gilbert in to that territory. So Eddie had come and talked to us with Memphis, and then he ended up wrestling for Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Jim Cornette, and then he went to Puerto Rico. And so the phone conversation from Buddy Wayne was that Ken called and said that he had found Eddie in the motel room, and he wasn't responding, and he had passed away. And so Buddy Wayne communicated that to me, and so we had to make a decision how to handle this. at this time, and Buddy had said, I said, has Tommy Gilbert been called? He said, not yet. I said, I want Eddie Marlin to do that. And he said, okay. And I said, I'll take care of Doug because he didn't have a cell phone. I said, I'll tell him when he gets to the building. So Buddy said, okay. So we get to the building and didn't go home, but went right to the building, and then Eddie got there. I told Eddie to get there as soon as possible. So I asked him if he would call Tommy, and that was Eddie Marlin said that's his old tag team partner. That's the hardest thing he ever did, hardest thing. Then I called Tommy Rich, who was at his mother's in Nashville, and told him what was going on, and I knew that my responsibility to tell Doug, but I wanted to help, and so I asked Tommy, who was the closest person around to Doug. So Tommy came, and Doug got there, and we told Doug, and of course he was absolutely sad as he could be and upset, and so we got the spellbinder to drive him back to Lexington, Tennessee, and then at the end of the night, I don't remember one place I heard that I announced to the crowd. Somebody else said that Eddie Marlin did. I can see that that I had Eddie do it would have been my choice at the point, my responsibility at the point to decide how that, if we were going to make the announcement. We certainly would not do that to the entire family, knew, so there was thought processes. Jerry Lawler got there, and I was out in the parking lot when he got there, and I told him and Spellbinder and Brian Christopher Lawler at the same time. It was just a unbelievable, sad situation. The funeral, I believe, I don't know if it was the following Friday, because obviously the body had to be brought back from Puerto Rico. I do remember the funeral was on a Friday. Wolfie and I went down for that. Eddie Marlin went down for that. Jerry Lawler, Brian, Terry Funk was there for the funeral, as Adam showed you a little bit ago, that the gravesite of the Gilbert family. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, you see the dates there. Far right is Tommy Gilbert. This obviously was taken before Tommy had passed away, and Peggy Gilbert, probably in just the last year or so, has passed away as well. Then it was probably, as we're looking at pictures of Eddie Gilbert right now, that's a very young Eddie Gilbert, very young Eddie Gilbert. I'm sure in his rookie year as a professional wrestler, and I'm thinking that picture is Louisville, probably. This is a more later in his career, looking like the champion he was. What a great, great talent, without a doubt in the world. And here is a list of championships that he had during his career: the NWA Central States Tag Team title, the ECW Eastern Championship Wrestling at the time Tag Team Championship, the Global GWF North America Championship, the NWA Mid-South Tag Team Championship, the NWA Tri-State Tag Team Championship with his father, USWA Heavyweight Champion, the Unified World Heavyweight Champion, of course, many times Southern Tag Team Champion with his brother Doug, the USWA Tag Titles, and also, of course, his father, just a fantastic talent. And as we give the background information, and certainly, as I said, we let Doug have as much time off as he needed and try to do that for him. And Michael, in your position as the head of the radio station, the responsibility of you as the owner of that business when there is bad news that has to be broken, you can't pass that buck, and it has to come from you. And so I don't know if I had told you that detail of the day's events, how we found out and all that, but relate your past experience in letting that, and you have to be strong for your entire crew, your entire company. So it's a tough deal. So cover that.
Well, Randy, it is. It's probably one of the worst days of your life when it happens. We lost 2 employees to COVID prior to me getting sick, and that in itself was bad. But anytime somebody loses someone within their family or somebody within your radio family, it's just a you're right, and you've got to be strong. I mean, the one thing I think you learn from it is your intestinal fortitude has to come forward and be strong, despite the fact that you probably want to go to pieces just like they do, and it's very difficult, but the right thing to do. And I can imagine, and I think one time we were riding up the freeway coming into Memphis with Eddie and Eddie Marlin, and Eddie brought up the fact that he had to break the news to Doug. And not to belittle or even put any shade on this situation, but Eddie had some issues where he needed fresh air, I guess you might say, and I think that was probably one of the reasons he went to Puerto Rico, because he was really hot. And if I'm not mistaken, had he not broken up with Missy Hyatt a while, just not a long while before all of this came down?
Yeah,
I
let me
mean,
get
it was, to me, Eddie's loss was probably more surprising than just about anybody I've ever been around in the wrestling business.
Let me give you the information now, and I want to clarify. Eddie Marlin was the one responsible for calling Tommy Gilbert. I told Doug, along with I got Tommy
Gotcha.
Rich to help out with that. Missy Hyatt and Eddie Gilbert was married. Of course, this was 95 of the death. Missy Hyatt and Eddie Gilbert were married in 1987. They were divorced in 1989. Then the interesting situation that I had almost forgot about, he married Medusa. Do you remember that? They were
I
married.
did not know that. Wow.
They were married in the year 1990, and they were divorced in the year 1990. So I would imagine that's when he was working. Not sure on that, people, but I would imagine he was working in 1990 during that time for Jim Crockett Promotions and WCW. But again, I'm not sure on that.
I did not realize that. I do know, if I'm not mistaken, he did some shots with us at the USWA and in Dallas, and I think he had been in the territory in Dallas even before Jerry bought it from the Von Erichs. Am I mistaken about that? Because I think he actually worked in that territory at one time.
I would, I don't have dates, but I would not bet against that. I would strongly think that. And so I know you got to go eventually. I also want to get Pat in, and Pat has a request for a subject I'm excited about a little later on. We got more Eddie Gilbert thing, and we're going to put a link because I want you guys to short. We don't have time for long comments, but just short comments about Eddie Gilbert, and we'll put that on there. But the real, Pat, you've heard our discussion and my discussion about that night on February the 18th when we found it out. You're a businessman too, so you're responsible for communicating tough stuff. So the whole deal, you can understand. Eddie and I were the same age, because I was Eddie hadn't turned 34 yet. He was 33. His birthday's in August, so I had the responsibility of dealing from a company standpoint at 33 years old.
Well, it's a tough thing, and I've had to do that personally and business wise, and it's not a it's not a thankful task for sure, but you do the best you can with it and try to have some grace about it. But Brad BC posted here, and he was right. I remember this. Eddie was in. I know Brad. I remember him on ESPN in Dallas, uh, like a couple years before for a period of time. But anyway, may be wrong about that. But uh, this is a well, Michael tells me USWA was on ESPN, but okay. Well,
Yeah,
anyway, we saw it there.
That's Adam telling you that.
Okay, that's Adam. Okay. Well, I trust Adam's. I trust Adam's library of knowledge more than just about anybody else. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, again, I didn't see an awful lot of Eddie Gilbert, but again, third generation Memphis wrestler. Uh, grew up watching his dad, knew the Gilbert family well. I mean, that's a tough one. It's just tough. It's family.
I want to do this, Adam, if we could remove on, and let's go with Michael's comment. I remember, I think you're saying Mark Lawrence, is
Yeah,
that
it should be Mark Lawrence. Yes, Mark. I'm
interviewing
sorry.
hot stuff in a heated interview on KTTV? Adam, if you could get rid of the captions on the right side of the ring and have me and the panel up there, because I want everybody, and certainly I can have these guys on the screen with me right now. But just think about this, and you guys think of the scenario that I'm putting out. Again, I was 33 years old. Eddie Gilbert passed away uh, at 33 years old. I am now 63 years old. Eddie Gilbert would be 63 years old, just like me. I'm thinking of my life between 33 and 63. Just think, and I'm going to get choked up just thinking about this, because just think, people, my case from 33 to 63, first of all, in my career, shortly after that 90, or started before with 94, 95 was my best run ever, and 96. 98, 2001 was Power Pro Wrestling. I was able to live those dreams past 33 years old. And then after wrestling went away, I did 12 years as a managing partner, made great money, and have lifelong friends that I'm still friends with today. Just great experience with Sonic. Then I did 3 years with the Co-Brother Circus. I did three years as the GM of Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill. And then you just don't think of how much you've been crammed in. But and I know you do all this thing, and then after the bar and grill, I did a year. Just so important. I was a caregiver for my mentor, Eddie Marlin. Before that, in 2011, I was able to be the caregiver for 3 years for my mother who had dementia and Alzheimer's. Then after that, I spent 3 years, joined the circus, believe it or not, and did that. And I've been back in Jonesboro for 5.5 years, and Uber driving, gone through 4 cars, and met our relationship with Michael and I reunited. Pat and I became big buddies, closest brothers, became very close to Adam Dunn, and I've been close to you guys. But my point, Michael, we'll start with you. Just think back from 1995 to now in 2025. This is February the 18th. If you weren't alive then, the first thing that I'm going to say is I'm sure the first thing that comes in your mind, Joshua would have never known Papa. Would have never known Papa. How old were you, Pat? And we'll let Michael talk. But I want to get this across. We're talking real life, people. Pat, how old were you when you had the kids?
Oh my goodness. I was 30, 39, and 41. We started this stuff late. So yeah, it would have been past that for sure.
Michael,
Uh,
you am I right in looking at it this
Oh,
way?
absolutely, absolutely. And I think sometimes you have to stop. And I'm glad we're having this opportunity tonight on the show to stop and reflect on that, because I know we're all busy. Pat's a busy man. I'm a busy person. You're a busy person, Randy. How many times do you get to just sit down and reflect what has happened over the last 30 years? When this happened, when Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert passed, and I heard about it. I was living in Los Angeles. I was about ready to move to St. Louis. I'd already accepted a position. And 2 weeks later, a gentleman that I worked with, Charlie Miner, it's been on ETV's Murder Mysteries and all. He was ambushed in his house at Malibu by an ex-girlfriend on a Sunday morning that came out of a closet and put
Oh,
6 slugs into him. And, and we went through that and the 2 weeks of funeral services in Atlanta and Los Angeles. And, you think about it, for the majority of the last 30 years, I've been involved here. And it's been the best 30 years of my life. And I got to say, over the last 5 years, despite my affliction with COVID and nearly cashing it in, but the relationship that I built with you, Randy, and with Pat, you talk about a brother. I mean, he's the brother I never knew until I met him. And we are of the same mindset. I mean, you and I and Pat and even Coach, we sort of think along that same realm. But how many times do we really get to stop and think and reflect on where our life has taken us? And to be having your life cut short at age 33, and I don't want to get all faith oriented here, but there was another man that came to this earth that lived to be 33 years old, and he changed the world. But in the wrestling world, and I'm not trying to make a comparison, so please don't come down on me, but Eddie Gilbert was to the point in his career, in my opinion, and I think you guys would probably agree, that he was just starting that fast ascension to the top. I mean, yeah, and he had some rough patches along the way, and he had to battle some demons, but he was just starting on that ascent, in my opinion.
so yeah, and I certainly can relate. Like, speaking just all on myself, and certainly I'm thankful that I'm here to talk to you guys and Team Hales right now, and it's a blessing there. Yeah, Eddie, this is my thing because Eddie Gilbert made good money in the wrestling business. He didn't make today's money. Nobody made today's money. Today's money, even for underneath talent, would have been unheard of money back in the day. There's underneath talent making seven figures. Certainly seven figures now certainly is not terribly out of back then it was just uh, tons of money. But what I'm saying is that the business went national, it went worldwide, and it started going worldwide in '85. Eddie had worked for the WWF and Mr. McMahon Sr., Vince's dad. He worked for WCW. But the big money, I think, as you say, it was yet to come for Eddie Gilbert. And I think from a creative standpoint, and he was very, very, very good there. And I think sometimes the pressure of the wrestling business gets you. In the WWF, you would think that's a lot of pressure, but Vince put so much pressure on himself, would relieve a lot of pressure, and it was almost like then Eddie Gilbert or a Bill Dundee or a Dusty Rhodes or a Pat Patterson, whatever thing, didn't have to drive the ship. Vince McMahon drove it. They just fed ideas, and it was Vince's ideas. So do you agree? Do both of you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Eddie was booking and running shows, and great in ring worker. I mean, he's one of those guys who you could just see going forward was going to have a very, very impactful career in and out of the ring, and that's very, very rare. And it's generally second, third generation wrestlers. And yeah, it's a. I mean, all you can say is it's a shame.
I put the link to join, and we usually don't do this on the Tuesday show. I do it on the Randy Hale show. This is based, again, I've done it on this show, but very rarely. We need quick bites. This is based on sports talk. Just get in, tell me your thoughts about what we're talking about. Certainly, Eddie Gilbert, that passed away 30 years ago today on February the 18th of 1995. The link to join this show is in the comment section on all the Facebook accounts and all the YouTube accounts. You can just go over to the comments and you can click on that. Also on my Facebook page, the from the top, maybe the second from the top, I have the link there. Adam, certainly, if you're having trouble finding that link, Adam will put on the screen right now. You can't click on it, but he'll put on the screen. Take a picture of that on your phone. Take a picture of that. If you can't find where you click on the comment side, take a picture of that and then type that in on your URL on your search bar, and that will put you on the show. Again, just quick thoughts and in and out, so we can we'll do this throughout the show. Stuart Elwood says Hot Stuff was born to be a wrestler. Sucks he didn't survive long enough to realize his whole potential. That's a good comment. So folks, just real quick comments from our buddy Greg Wayne.
Real quick, one of the things that I've seen, like watching a lot of the different documentaries and specials that people put together, a lot of the stuff out there that pertains to Eddie, it's not true. He was an absolute artist in his craft. He, like I said, he followed Lawler, and that was his dream. Um, Eddie was an absolute great guy, no matter what his demons may have been. Um, I have the utmost respect for Eddie Gilbert.
Yeah, I mean, talent wise and person wise and every thing around. We have somebody that's new to our show that we haven't had. I don't think have on here before. And Michael, I'll let you conduct this interview. Welcome to the show, William Robinson. William, where are you coming from?
New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Good play.
But I
Eddie
grew
was
up in Memphis with Memphis Wrestling.
Didn't Eddie do a tour down there for Gulf South for Mid South Wrestling?
He booked it.
He booked it. Yeah. Well, I was thinking he did a big thing down there. What is the thing though that separates Eddie from the rest? And I was thinking about this, Greg, when you were talking, and I know William, you've got a comment too, but Eddie had that special it factor. And, I deal with it with talent and broadcasting for the last 58 years. And I know, Pat, you've dealt with it in business as well. There are just certain individuals when they're within their element that has that it factor. And I think that's the thing that separated Eddie from the crowd.
No, I would agree with that. The other interesting thing was that you always had the impression that Eddie was trying to make himself be like Jerry Lawler. In other words, he wanted to be in that spot, not only be in that spot, but actually work like Lawler and talk like him. he didn't quite get there, but he certainly had charisma, and it certainly is a shame that we lost him.
By the way, William, I really like your decor. My daughter lives in New Orleans, and Mardi Gras is a little late this year, but have a piece of king cake on me, okay?
Sounds good.
William, thank you much for dropping in. Any final comments about Eddie Gilbert?
Not really, I guess. I guess the biggest thing is just disappointment that he did not quite reach his potential.
I think he would have certainly had a tremendous career, but he had 63 years old, so he would have had 25 more years at the least.
Right.
Doing this deal at the highest level, he would have made millions of dollars.
Agreed. He had some charisma, like I said, that, like Michael said, I think the it factor, he did have that. We just never really got to fully see it, I don't think.
Thank you very much, William, and we do this from time to time, and we appreciate you being on, and check us out again. Appreciate you watching today.
Thank you very much.
All right, very good. Now,
Very good.
Greg, before we move on, just your memories in 1995. Were you still living at home, or were you and Vicky married by that point?
We was already married. We got married in 1987, I think it was.
Okay, so yeah, long before that.
Yeah, we long before that.
Do you remember? Then if you weren't living at home, I guess two things could have happened. Ken could have called you from Puerto Rico, or your dad, who Ken did call, could have called you.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to make the comment about when William was on. I didn't make the comment. I didn't cut him off. Let him finish saying what he wanted to say. And that is part of it. In all actuality, we were the first to know exactly what happened. I'm not going to elaborate on everything that we were told. Before Jerry Jarrett knew, before you knew, before anybody else in the world knew, Ken had found Eddie in the motel room, which is my brother. So some of y'all out there may not know. And Daddy got a phone call from Ken from Puerto Rico. And we were the first ones that he called. Why, I don't know. He may have dialed, 911 or whatever it is in Puerto Rico. And then he called us. So we sort of knew already what had happened. When Daddy came to me and told me that Eddie had passed away and so forth and so on, and all the different things. And I've asked Ken on a couple of occasions what happened. And his story has been the same, no matter what. I mean, it's almost word for word. It is a shame that Eddie passed. I loved Eddie. I loved Tommy. And of course, quite naturally, I like Doug. But it's one of them things where Eddie had I don't know how to put it, the it factor. He could have went on so much greater than he did. Eddie was very talented. He was an excellent mind as far as wrestling goes, as far as booking and that kind of thing. He did have a short temper if you didn't want to do what he wanted to do, as far as like being an owner or whatever. But he had great ideas. It's one of them things where I don't know. I have went up there and seen the stone and stuff in Lexington, and it's hard because My brother started out same time that Eddie did. They started out to feud with the Waynes and the Gilberts and all that kind of stuff. That's like a lot of stuff that I've seen so far. Um, it's not absolutely accurate. Some of them say that he started, in Memphis. Some of them say he started later and different things and different scenarios. Um, and a lot of stuff that's out there is not true. That's what bothers me the most because Eddie deserved the truth, no matter what. Um, yes, he was in a car wreck. Yes, he was injured really really bad. Same thing with him growing a beard and stuff. That was to hide scars and different things that happened from the accident. Was he on painkillers and different things and medications? Yes, he was. I mean, who wouldn't be? Uh, I don't hold anything against anybody, but when they try to discredit somebody that is out there doing their best and recovering and doing through physical therapy and all the different things, like same thing with WWE and all the different stuff that has happened, um, it's really hard to pay homage, so to speak, to somebody that deserves it.
Good thoughts, Greg. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for joining us tonight. We
You're more
appreciate it.
welcome.
All right. Greg
Good seeing
Wayne,
you, Greg.
everybody. So comments uh, from elaborate on that, then Pat's jump back on here and we'll get Pat's thoughts. Then we have three matches that I want to show. Hopefully, unless there's an emergency, you can be here for those three matches. But Pat, let's go with you first.
Well, this has been a great. Thanks for Greg and William hopping in. It's been a great conversation, and I saw that today, and it did it kind of hit me. That guy. It was as you say, Randy, and we're so eloquently put it. Way too young. How much he's missed these past years, and just like I say, third generation guy, part of the part of the bloodline that made me love, you know, southeastern Memphis, Birmingham wrestling, and just that one hits hard. It really
Michael,
does.
and Pat, I think one thing is, as Greg's right, there uh, is stuff. Adam saying somebody asked earlier who Eddie's grandfather was. He was a wrestler as well, and off the top of my head, I can't think of his name right now. That was way before my time. An interesting note, as Greg said, is there's a lot of false information. The information that I've always been aware of, and I remember at the time because I went a couple of times to see him. There was what we called outlaw promotions back then, independent promotions. Now wrestlers need to learn, so Tommy Gilbert one of the places he wrestled when he was a young kid before he worked for Gulas Welch was a quote quote independent outlaw, however you want to say it, called Henry Rogers in Baldwin, Missouri. So when Eddie Gilbert was about ready to go, Tommy sent Eddie to Malden, Missouri every Tuesday night. So he got over there. He was a lot younger than any of the other talent, looked like a movie star and got over. And then he started for the Memphis territory when Robert Fuller was booked. And for some reason, Robert Fuller, and he wanted, this is just the way he wanted to go. Everybody knew Eddie Gilbert because he was a photographer. He was at ringside. Everybody knew him. And all of a sudden, he became a wrestler, and he was called Tommy Gilbert Jr. The Gilberts. Tommy Gilbert Sr., Tommy Gilbert Jr. When Jerry Jarrett ended up replacing Robert Fuller, took over the book again, he replaced that name, Tommy Gilbert, Jr. and went with Eddie Gilbert, which that's what everybody knows. So am I right as far as you know, Michael, on that information?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I is there, and again, I at one time sort of knew the more of the lay of the land than I remember, but was there some kind of like in-law marriage kind of thing? I know the Waynes, the Gilberts, the Fullers, the Welches. There are a lot of names that all surface in wrestling with Gulas Welch, or with when Roy was part of the company, and they were all sort of, I won't say necessarily blood kin, but there's almost a kinship of all those families.
Of course, with the Fullers and the Welches and the Goldens and the Fields. Fullers, Welches, Goldens,
And
and
the
the
Fields,
Fields. They were
that
all.
was blood. That was all
Yeah,
blood.
yes, absolutely. And Ron Fuller does a podcast and has for the last 400 weeks, and now it's a paid situation, but still, Ron covers that history, and it started with with Roy and Herb and Lester and the brothers. It's just a fantastic tale, Pat. Certainly with those people.
It is. It is. And if somebody's married to their fifth cousin, I can appreciate that.
Alrighty then.
Well,
Be
also there was just to add to that whole scenario, it was sort of like a family. Even when I went to work for Nick, I mean, it was still sort of a family. I mean, there had been, and you know what happens in families? They all quarrel. They all have falling outs. I mean, every family has it. There's not one I've ever encountered that doesn't have that. But yet there was a reverence to Don and Al Green, or to the Green brothers. There was a reverence to the Fields. There was a reverence to the Raw, to Joey, or to Lynn and Joey Rossi, from the office there. And if something happened within, God forbid, if something bad happened to one of the folks that were in that inner sanctum, if you would, they helped out like it was family. I mean, whether it was monetarily, whether it was giving them a ride to the doctor, whatever the case may be, everybody helped out because it was a family. And I think the territory was very much like that when Jerry Jarrett brought. Well, look at Jerry's mom. Jerry's mom was part of the family. Look at Eddie Marlin. I mean, we talk about Eddie all the time. Eddie was part of the family. So
And then his brother Tommy Marlin, Randy West, who's ill tonight. By the way, he
oh
has a
no,
little sinus, and
oh
and
okay.
he's not watching the show tonight. But yes, absolutely.
And I think when you look at it, and even when Jerry took over, there was still that family feeling. There were new people in the family, or there was second and third generations, but there were always that family feel. I always felt, whether it was with Mr. Goulis, whether it was with Jerry Jarrett, with whoever, I always felt like they had my back and that they trusted me to be part of their family, if you would. And I think, Randy, I think you've alluded to that, and of course, taking care of Eddie. You won your angel wings in my mind for doing that. I mean, but there was that family atmosphere, that family feeling, and that don't exist in this business, and in very few businesses that I know of in this day and time.
And family, as you say, quarrel and fight. Your brothers fight, sisters fight. It's just a part of life. And then I would imagine that if you certainly we talked about the Fullers and Ron Fuller's group and Mid Atlantic. Who ran that? The Crockett family.
The family.
Jim Crockett Jr.
Look at Florida, the Grahams.
The Grahams, yeah. You can go over, and of course, no better example than Vince McMahon Sr. bringing in Vince, Greg Gagne, Vern Gagne. I'm sure we're leaving out something.
The Von Erichs.
Yeah, the Von Erichs and the
the guy in Houston, Paul
Bosch.
Bosch.
Yeah.
In Kansas City, in talking with Sam Muchnick, his little group, with Johnny Valentine and Pat O'Connor and those guys, they were like family. And they were treated like family. But you're right, they argued like family, they fought like family, but that's what made the business what it was and what it if there's anything that's lost in our business today, and we've lost it in the radio business, we've lost it in the wrestling business. It's now bean counters. It's now accountants. It's now about the dollar. It's now about the marketing and how much marketing money you. I just saw the other day. I just saw the average wrestler that is signed to WWE. The average wrestler signing a new contract with WWE starts at $200,000, and I know Tony's paying more than that in AEW. I mean, these guys, Tony, God love him. He's paying big money for his talent, and that's great for the talent. But that family has just we've lost that sense of that, and and maybe I'm just being an old 73-year-old crotchety old man right now, but I think that whole family thing, and I was raised in a family. I was raised in an Italian family. I know what family is. But I'm just saying that it's just we've lost that as I don't know if it's a societal thing or if it's just a thing that we've lost in the business realm where the people run the business, which is wrestling's a people business. Radio is a people business. That's to me where we've lost it. And I hate to think that we lost somebody like Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, when and where and why that it happened. Gosh, it just makes you think. Too bad that we couldn't have seen something coming and helped him out even further.
The Harts, of course, the Hart family in Calgary, big.
Absolutely.
We're going to get to the video. We have 3 or 4 videos that we want to show of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. Before we do that, and we have Pat is going to bring a subject toward us toward the end of the show. But right now, we want to check the weather in all our location. We'll start in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and the map has expired, so we don't have that. And I'm looking at my phone. It is 21 degrees. It's a feels like temperature of 6 degrees, as there you are right now, and it's dark outside. So I hadn't
How
been.
much snow you got on the ground?
I'm gonna throw it back to y'all in a minute so y'all can give. We're supposed to get about 6. It started about 3 hours later than it was going to. I'm going to step to the door right now, y'all's microphone, so you can go ahead and give your weather, and Pat can give his, and I'll be back in about 30 seconds.
Well, it's fine here. It's 46 degrees here, so we're okay. We're going to get some rain tomorrow, and it's going to be really cold. It's going to be 28 degrees in the morning, so I don't know if we're going to be able to. I hope there's going to be some rain, so I don't know if we ought to be driving in that or not, but we'll see. But that's the low. It maybe will be around freezing at by the morning, but I do see in Memphis 30 degrees feels like 15, snowing right now. Robert says it's snowing in Humboldt, Tennessee. If Ahmad or any of you guys can tell us how it is in Memphis, it'd be great to know. PJ, nobody wants to hear that while we're freezing to death.
Hey, Pat, 80 miles north of you, we've got 45 degrees, and there is some mist, very cloudy, low-hanging clouds. That's something that we haven't seen lately, is we have some low-hanging clouds, some fog in the area, light fog in the area, but you just sort of can feel it coming. And I know I'm looking at channel 31 over here on my other screen, and it's showing that the front is slowed down a bit as it crossed the Mississippi River, but right now they're getting a lot of river effect snow up in that area.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Now we did our weather forecast, and what's your situation, Michael? Are you still good to stay?
I got my friends at Channel 31, and so far no change. We're good. Let's keep rolling.
Keep rolling. I'm Randy Hills. He's Michael St. John. He's Pat Trammell, and I'm a little fuzzy. I'll fix that in a minute. We want to go early, not real early, and there's Memphis right now. Pat, you asked for it. Adam done doing it. It's 29 degrees. It's 21 in Jonesboro. It's a shower. The parking lot, the asphalt not a lot of snow on that. The cars are covered, absolutely covered. Eddie Gilbert's career started in Memphis in 1979, teamed with his dad, and then back then everybody traveled to different territory. He worked for Leroy McGurk and had a good run there, and worked for Kansas City, had a good run there. Also, so he worked for the WWF for the elder Vince McMahon. He came back. They put him in a tag team with Rick Morton. Now at this time, one of your favorite people, Tojo Yamamoto, the Honorable Imperial Tojo Yamamoto. This was the second Tupelo concession stand brawl. It was in September of 81. It's 10 minutes, 58 seconds. I'm queuing Adam for this. It was a concession stand brawl with Masafuchi, Onita, two Japanese legends, with Tojo Yamamoto in the corner. Second ever Tupelo concession stand brawl with the tag team of second generation wrestling people, Rick Morton and Eddie Gilbert. And we're going to watch that now on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
The first opportunity of following all the action here on Championship Wrestling with Eddie Gilbert and Rick Morton to meet in the ring officially, Onita and Fuchi, took place in Tupelo, Mississippi. Need I say more? Take a look. Goes at the chin with that one. Makes the tag on Eddie Gilbert. Here comes Eddie. Look at that. Boy, he slammed Onita, then Fuchi, and right back to Onita and Fuchi again. Eddie Gilbert, much the fresher of the two.
Eddie Gilbert would have been 20 years
There's
old.
that slide, takes him
Ricky
down.
probably
Could be
21. The
third
famous
fall.
Gilbert
Morton
slide,
and
Tommy
Onita. Here
Gilbert's
comes
finish.
Yamamoto. Right in the eyes of Eddie Gilbert. While the referee is over trying to get Onita and Morton apart. 1, 2, 3. The fall is going to go to Masafuchi and Mr.
That's
Onita.
his dad refereeing, isn't it?
Yeah, I was
That's
about to
Ricky's
say the
dad.
same.
Yeah, that's Paul.
That's Bald Eagle.
Fuchi in a position to be pinned.
58 degrees in rain in New Orleans, Louisiana. Snow in Humboldt, Tennessee. Light flurries in Memphis.
Fired the salt, I presume,
Yeah, Todd, that's him. That's Paul.
into Gilbert's eyes.
That's Ricky's dad. Is the
Takes
Ricky
away
Morton's
the
dad is
fighting
the
stick,
referee.
hammered away on Tojo Yamamoto. Going after Onita and Fuchi, and now they're after Morton again.
Interesting, the kendo stick was in play the other night on the AEW show. And the difference between the kendo stick that they're using right there and the kendo stick that they use now is the new boys don't. The boys now don't know how to make a kendo stick. Tojo had that thing. It's bamboo and it was slit on the sides. And then he took tape. He took athletic tape every 4 or 5 inches and wrapped a small little piece of it so the kendo stick never came apart, and therefore it didn't sliver and cut somebody's back wide open. So the wrestlers, again, protecting themselves back in the old days, where today they just take a piece of bamboo and whack the hell out of each other with it.
Frank says, didn't Onita run a wrestling promotion, a hardcore promotion in Japan? Yes, and I think Onita ended up as a state senator in Japan as well. I think this brawl is great. You can't beat the first one as far as memories, because it was the first one, but this one's wild and woolly. If anything, the action is better. Just the shock factor, because this was number 2, was not there. But this is wild, Pat.
Yeah, it is.
Slams Yamamoto with it. Gilbert.
Randy West
Onita's head busted
was
wide
doing the video. This was in 1981. Randy, absolutely.
Slams a mustard jar.
One thing I noticed
Yamamoto.
earlier
Yellow everywhere.
in the match was Tojo has on wrestling boots, which is unusual.
Here comes Fuchi.
He knew he was going to be in mustard.
He didn't want to slip. That was Tojo. He didn't want to slip.
Save what you can save there.
One of these days, Randy, I think we ought to do a deep dive on Tojo. It's long overdue.
We need to do a book on Tojo.
I agree with that.
One snow day several years ago, I did a stuck at home, and I did a 3-hour deep dive on Tojo. Obviously, that audience wasn't very big because it was in the spur of the moment, and I was bored. But we need to do that again.
Slam Tojo right to his knees. He's now got Onita
Boy,
into the ice machine.
the Japanese wrestler right there, he got juiced. He got juiced the real way.
Michael, did you ever go to Tupelo?
No, I did not. That's one of the few ones I did. I've been to Florence, did Bowling Green, did Birmingham, did Tuscaloosa. Never made it to Tupelo. I've been to Tupelo, but not as in a wrestling show.
Tojo bleeding there, Fucci and Anita bleeding. It's a wild brawl. You saw Eddie, as you see Paul there. Eddie Marlin was there. The local promoter, Herman Sheffield, he'll come and play, as will Herman's wife. Herman passed away, and Herman's wife, get that clear. Herman's wife ended up marrying Dennis Hall, Michael.
Wow.
With a trash can. Eddie Gilbert nailed him.
This is, I'm not saying it's better than the first one, but boy, this one's hot.
I think action-wise it is better.
I think I agree with you, Randy.
It just, because it wasn't close, it didn't draw as much. The people just thinking, oh, we've seen this. But physically, it was better. And let's just face it, the first one, the baby faces, had Lawler and Dundee had so much history, nothing against Eddie Gilbert or Whit Morton at all. But they weren't over as much as Lawler and Dundee. They just weren't at this point. 2 years in the business. So this is Herman Sheffield, the local promoter, getting attacked. Let's Lance explain.
Gilbert out of here. Here comes Marlin back in.
This is the wife.
Marlin.
Look at Tojo. Tojo stopping the wife. Look at Tojo. As far as he's concerned, the fan is coming in there. Tojo's hot.
Morton and Gilbert back in again. Oh, man.
A lot more action than the first one.
Oh, absolutely.
And the popcorn machine survived.
Yes, that's rule number 1 in the concession stand brawl. Don't screw with the popcorn machine.
Morton hit him with a
Love
trash can flush. Eddie Marlin having no success in breaking him up. They're just totally out of hand.
I swear to God, Eddie still had that shirt, that same shirt in 2018, Michael.
Wouldn't surprise me.
We're not going to be able to show a lot of it, but just keep shooting it.
You know, I'm not sure what the damage was, but I'm sure several $100.
Yeah, if you're going to have a brawl, you need to draw a house. Oh.
Just as Fucci was getting ready to nail Gilbert, Morton caught him with that broomstick.
As it continues at the Tupelo Sports Arena in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Gilbert and Morton, Yamamoto jumped Herman. Morton and Gilbert later came back in.
A bigger mess than the other one.
The people from the crowd are watching over the counter there.
I don't know. May have to get some more people in. Yeah.
I'm going to knock modern wrestling when you see the concession stand brawl. It's obviously they just put together a concession stand. This is the real thing there, Michael.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Boy, I'll tell you, this one is much wilder. You know, and when I'm watching this, as far as wild action, I rank this one, the Evansville brawl in the dressing room, too, and the original brawl that tore up the concession stand in Tupelo 3, because there was a lot of lag in that first brawl. It was a brawl, and everybody was shocked with it, but this is a bigger brawl, in my opinion.
Floor. Move them out. Yeah.
About 120 left in this video, and we can unpack it then. This is a different Talking Memphis Wrestling. Pat has a subject that he pitched, and Adam saw, I'm sure, on social media, it was the 30th anniversary of the passing of Eddie Gilbert, and he wanted to cover that. And so we are going to continue. Unless there's breaking news, we'll go with the breaking news next week, because I like this. Mr. Coffee would very rarely, Greg, go to Tupelo or go to Jonesboro, especially back in those times when he was still the manager of Cook Convention Center.
But back over by the dressing rooms, they're still fighting. Yamamoto grabs a board. He's going after
25 seconds left.
In the dressing room.
Boy, I'll tell you. Just unabridged brawl. That's all there was to it. We got more, or we'll be back in just a moment.
And I love, Michael, how Lance didn't oversell that.
The master.
That's good. That was
How are you
great.
going to top it? I mean, think about it. You've just seen everything except the world end. How are you going to top it? I mean, just underscored it, got out to a break. Perfection.
Right.
Eddie this was a Jarrett promotion town by this point in 81. The local promoter was Eddie Marlin. Eddie was continued to wrestle from time to time, and even though most fans knew he was, Herman Sheffield was the local guy, ran the concession stand, so they always said promoter Herman Sheffield. Eddie Marlin was the promoter. And to answer a question earlier, I'm not sure if Tojo would have known that lady or not. Maybe he was, but I guarantee you that was not laid out, that whole brawl. End up in the concession stand, the fight. That's all that was said. They didn't say, well, we'll place this here and this, that, and that there and there. It just didn't happen that way. Right, Michael?
You're absolutely right. It goes as it's called as it goes, and that made the magic. I'm telling you, that made the magic. I know this is totally off subject, but I did want to get this in. I know we were getting into another subject momentarily, but just as passing, you said that didn't draw a lot of money. That was not that one did not come back and draw money. Is that correct?
That didn't draw as much money as the first one.
Was that a product of the time that occurred versus the time of the first one, or do you think that it was the individuals involved?
I think it was the individuals involved. It was the first time it had ever been done, that first time. And, just certainly we all know what Rick Morton did with Rock and Roll and Eddie Gilbert did, and they all ended up drawing money in Memphis. It was and the Hills, the first go around, the Blonde Bombers, it wasn't like they had been top. That got them to be top guys. Fucci and Onita's have been in the territory for maybe three weeks, and I'm not saying it was a dud. didn't draw did horrible business. I'm not saying that at all. It just wasn't as memorable, and there's reasons for that.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then you look at things that have not gone around and done as good the second time as the first time, if you would. Look what the WWE is experiencing right now on Netflix. Their ratings are down 62% from where they were on USA versus Netflix. And again, I mean, there's a comparison there that are people tired of and maybe other things are working into it, but everybody thought it was going to be the golden goose, and it's turning out not to be. People thought maybe the second coming of the promoters thought the second coming of that brawl, and like I said, I think it was a better brawl as far as fights go, but like you said, it didn't draw the fan interest.
Sometimes the incentive, because with and it would be the same thing with Raw. On USA, they had a rights fee. This rights fee is so much, and now the money they make from little hits, all kinds of social medias, just generating income is the bottom line, and it's generating all kinds of things. But when it comes time for in 5 years or however long it is for the next negotiating, what's going to be different. If it wasn't what they expected, what will happen, Michael?
Those rights fees are going to go down, and it's not going to be the same contract, or it shouldn't be unless inflation takes over. It's just odd. I mean, and watching this, I mean, I salute to the wrestlers that were in that. That's a dangerous also situation. I don't know if we've ever brought this up before, but when you leave the confines of the ring, and I always learn this, and I know Randy, I think you've been a big proponent of this too. You got to keep the hottest of the hot in the ring, and when you leave the ring, not if you're shooting an angle and it's outside the ring, it's one thing, but boy, it sure puts a lot of different perspectives. You put people in jeopardy. You can't control the environment as much. It's just I know, again, just referring back to Nick didn't like it when they left the ring, unless he was doing something special, get your ass back in the ring kind of thing. But now, hell, half the matches that you watch on TV or on pay-per-view, half of them are outside the ring, period.
Then what happens there? The people are used to it. It's not special, and
I was about to say, it's nothing special.
It doesn't mean nothing. Adam, if you put the last comment, William Robinson's on there, and I had said a little bit of this, and I think it's so important. So many wrestlers would come into the Memphis territory. Michael, you know this, no doubt, and this is a great example. Fuji and Onita was trained in Japan, was sent to America like so many did. They came to Memphis, and Onita took the wild and crazy, quote, quote, hardcore type of wrestling back to Japan, and he started a hardcore promotion there that did tremendous business based on Memphis wrestling. So much stuff was. I've always said Vince McMahon went with Monday Night Raw. Where did he base? Of course, the production values was so much better than Channel 13 or Channel 5 TVs. But the thing about Memphis TV was always, it was what? Raw. What did Vince McMahon call his signature show? Raw.
And what night did he put it on?
Monday night.
What night were Memphis wrestling when the Mid-South Coliseum?
Absolutely. And to be fair with that, Madison Square Garden ran once a month on Mondays.
Okay, well, just let me add one thing to it. Paul E. Dangerously started his wrestling management career out of the independents. Where? In Memphis wrestling at Jerry Jarrett's house. I was there. I conducted the first ever interview with Paul in Jerry Jarrett's ballroom at his house on Bonita Parkway. So many comparisons.
We'll put this to bed with that brawl by saying this. You mentioned Paul Lee. I was listening to Conrad and Jeff Jarrett. Didn't get a chance to watch it all, but they're doing a podcast on Eddie Gilbert. He's 100% right. Paul E. Dangerously is considered on modern wrestling the product now, the success of the WWF and the whole bloodline, Roman Reigns, all that story. The person driving the story is Paul E. I think we can all agree on that. Who mentored Paul E? Eddie Gilbert. Absolutely. We want
Very
to do
good.
another thing. Eddie switched heel. Missy Hyatt was in the territory. This is a situation here. We'll go back to 88. This is Misty Hyatt, Eddie Gilbert, and Jerry Jarrett. And I'm trying to get a time on that. That I don't see the time on that. If Eddie Gilbert fired Jerry Jarrett, if you can find that, Adam, and play that.
Lance, no. Now you brought up a very good point here. You were bringing up family here, right?
Yeah.
Talking about myself and Doug and Missy.
Yeah, you're always, never one of you. There's always two.
You're always bringing up family. Well, I think everybody in this area knows, and I see the man standing right over here behind this camera that said he's going to come out here and do commentary with you, Jerry Jarrett. Well, first of all, I like to talk to him, and I want to tell you, I can't believe we're talking about family here. Everybody knows that Eddie Marlin is your father-in-law. It's a big family situation. Hey, when I talk to him...
Hey, that's ancient history. Come on, Eddie.
I want to talk to him, man. He left his poor old crippled, decrepit father-in-law get in the ring with my dad. He can't even walk the ring.
Which doesn't happen to be any of your business. Yeah, well, you talk to him on your own time. We've got a match coming. Leave him alone.
Why don't he come on out here?
He is not out here to be involved in it. Will you get your hands off and quit this stuff?
I just want to talk to the man. I can't believe... Come here just a minute. I want to see who I'm talking to, man to man, when I talk to it. I came back here...
Pat, look at Jerry Jarrett's facials.
Everybody else protect Jerry Law.
Humble
And then you
baby
let your
face.
father-in-law go in the ring, and you have to surround him with people, your own son. You let the poor guy go in the ring against a guy like my dad who'd tear him apart. I can't believe you're that heartless, that cold, and that cruel.
Why don't you put a cork on it? We didn't invite you out here to try to
I
argue.
don't care if I get an invitation or not. I come out here when I want to. I can't believe this man is standing back and letting him go against Eddie Marlin. Your father is too old to wrestle anyway.
Eddie takes care of himself. He doesn't have to have anybody sticking up for him or anything else. In there.
Oh, no, he's Mr. Big Shot around here. He lives up on his big mansion in Harrisonville, Tennessee. He don't care if any of his family gets hurt. He doesn't care if his son gets hurt.
All right.
He don't care about his father-in-law.
Let me tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I'm not the matchmaker. If I was, Eddie Marlin wouldn't be wrestling because I like him too much. I wouldn't have him in the ring. And I don't have anything to do with the matchmaking. And while you're talking about people, senior citizens wrestling, why don't you retire your daddy?
Hey, come on. Get him. Come on, you guys. Come on, son.
Look at the spelling. Sense of urgency with the talent, every one of them. Underneath guys, the top guys.
They always go for the eye, Jerry.
Absolutely. Goes right off. Babyface came out, and we'll go and get first comments from Pat Trammell as we come out of the video in just about 3 seconds. Pat
You
Trammell.
know, that's just a very, very classic Jerry Jarrett babyface, Eddie Gilbert heel. Making, as you say, Todd, making it look real.
Hey, personal issues draw money.
That's right.
All right. And let me say this, that's the way you shoot an angle. And I guarantee you they didn't blow that angle off the next Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum. That continued and drew money. I'll bet you on that.
It continued, yes, that drew money, and it continued with me the next week. And tip off what's going to happen. This is me involved with the Gilberts right now from
Big action lineup today, and we're going to be
1988,
getting into the
20
ring with the opening bout. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert will be
This is 10 minutes. This
Speaking
needs, or 8 minutes. This needs to be shown just to tell the whole story. Missy Hyatt, man, she gets heat.
Oh, I see you got our Mr. Matchmaker.
To be so hot then, and to see her, bless her heart now.
Everybody tells my compadre, Randy Hells, everybody should know that he's taking Eddie Marlin's place now. Jerry's doing the matchmaking around here. Oh, you're such a good guy, Randy Hells.
Yeah.
Now, I've noticed today, he's put together such a good wrestling card for today, by the way. I've noticed on here, I don't see Jerry the King Lawler wrestling today.
No, he is not scheduled today.
It's real funny to me, Lance Russell, for the past 15 years on this television, Jerry Lawler has capitalized and come out here and ran the show. He's been here every week.
Eddie Gilbert's a hell of a heel.
He's always been here, but ever since Hot Stuff arrived in the area, I haven't seen Jerry Lawler live in person here yet. Where's he at?
It's his own business. He will have his own reason for not being here, and we'll leave it at that.
I'll
It's
just
not
go ahead.
business.
I see you. Once again, you're being partial. Once again, you don't want to tell the people.
No, I just simply said it's his business. It doesn't happen to be your business.
That's how it is my business, because I got a lot to do with the reason why he's not here. See, people sitting at home, Jerry Lawler is not here today after the beating and the pounding he took last week from me.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
No.
He's sitting at home. He's
Hey, one, he proved he was coming back, and you said he wasn't going to be back here. Two, you had a whale of a match, and let me tell you, I can see the scars right now remaining from Jerry the King Lawler.
Are those glasses clear? Did you see the same match I saw that I was in?
Yeah,
The one where
saw
Jerry
it.
Lawler was down begging, please don't hurt me. The one the referee was wanting to stop the match, and the people were crying, please stop the match. The King's hurting. Oh, and
yeah.
he was begging. I tell you what, I almost felt sorry for him.
Yeah, I know you
Because he
almost-
beat my poor fist horribly with his head so bad it was terrible. I was, oh, Lord, please don't do that anymore. I felt so sorry for him for a little while, and then I said, nope. I'm not going to feel sorry for you, Jerry Lawler. You brought it upon yourself. I told you I was a new king. You've got to realize, just like Larry Holmes, the great world boxing heavyweight champion, you were great in your time, but this is my time.
Wait a minute. You want to go ahead and make that kind of a story and try to make people... I believe that I can get a tape queued up of that match. We've got one in the house.
Hold it, don't. Stop back there. It specifically states in my contract that you or nobody else can show any tape of mine without my permission written down.
Well, you want to
can't
tell
do that,
such a big story? Let's take a look
I'm
at the
telling you,
tape.
no,
Give us the permission.
you
Go
cannot
ahead.
show that. I'll sue this place and take everything it's worth right now. It's in my contract. Just take my word for it, people. I beat that poor king, if you want to call him that, across around the building so bad, I proved I'm the king of wrestling. If he was the king of wrestling, he would be here right now, but I'm here. He ain't got the guts to be here. He's a coward, and I have finally proved my story is correct and true.
Well, you've got a match in the ring, so let's
Once
stop
again,
talking and get
what's the
up there.
fastest time again? Didn't I set that record last
Yeah,
week?
you set the record at 16 seconds. I know. Okay. Eddie Gilbert going to the ring. Okay, we're about ready to start with our opening bout here. Finally, after Gilbert shut up. I noticed he didn't want that tape shown. You want to make the official announcements on this one, Randy?
I'll be glad to, Lance. There's one fall with a 10-minute time limit. Introducing from Memphis, Tennessee, Ken Raper. His opponent, ladies and gentlemen, from Every Girl's Dream, introducing Hot Stuff, Eddie Gilbert. With him at ringside is Missy Hyde, and one away with this one fall 10-minute time limit championship wrestling match.
Get out of here.
Ken Raper.
What?
My turn to commentate. Get up.
Come on, Missy, let us do the match.
Missy, let us do the show.
Eddie Gilbert scissors the legs, takes Ken Raper down to...
I've got more experience doing color commentating than you.
Missy, will you go back down to ring?
Hey, Crazy Gail, glad you're watching the show. James, I appreciate you watching. New people watching. We had William Robinson on a little
You're not
early
going
in the
to.
show.
We don't need you to do commentary here. Lance and I are completely satisfied. Well, you're not going to do it.
Yes, I am.
Listen, Randy is my guest today, so just leave it alone, will you?
I might buy this station and I'll fire you and I'll get rid of you and won't let you on this TV. I want to do it.
Well, that's
I
fine,
want
but...
to do it. I'm going to do it.
Well, the day you're not... Hey, Missy, get out of here. You're not going to
You
do
know,
it
Colin,
today. I don't care what you
I
want.
really don't remember
She's throwing up.
how much
I'm not
Eddie
gonna
Missy
get
was paid.
Come on, Missy, just go back over there and sit down.
Eddie Gilbert
Somebody
and
asked
Ken
you up
Ray
there.
for Eddie Gilbert.
Eddie Gilbert
I
in
would
with Ken
imagine
Raper in the middle of the ring, and
she was paid
nails Raper.
You're
the
not going
same as
to
Eddie
that's all there is
Get
to
to
it.
the ringside,
Eddie
please.
Gilbert
and
in the ring
Eddie's
with Ken
opponent,
Raper.
I would say. Unless that opponent was Jerry Lawler, and neither one of them was
You
paid what
have a
Lawler
match
did.
in the ring, Eddie.
Everybody likes me better.
Count the guy out.
What is the problem here?
Listen, she isn't
What is the
invited
problem?
here.
She is not going to do this show. I'm getting tired of the Gilbert. Lance is getting tired of you guys trying to run this
Have you
championship.
ever thought for a second maybe the ratings on this show has picked up a lot since the Gilberts have been on? You ever thought about that?
Come on in. Well, let me tell you, you're getting counted out.
counting you
You're
out
getting
right
counted
now.
out about that. You're getting counted
You think
out.
I care? I care far more about my lady than that match.
Okay, today,
She wants to
9,
commentate. You
10. You have just lost the
You
match.
lost the match, brother. Ring the bell.
Good stuff to say that about me, doesn't it?
You lost the match. Ken Raper beat Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Did you see him beat me 1, 2, 3? You get up and hurt.
He got his. The match
There's
is
nothing
over.
to commentate
He's not
on. The
going to
match is
commentate
over.
now or nowhere in this show. We're not going to let you, or we're not going to let you run this show, Lance. I'm sorry. Come on in.
Just because Eddie wanted Jerry, just because you're like their adopted son, you want to come out here.
Height-wise, Michael, you see, and Pat, you see how I tower over Eddie?
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm
Eddie.
telling you right now, you're not going to do this show. This is not the place to conduct business. It's my show.
It's the Eddie Gilbert Missy Hyatt show. You can't tell me. You don't tell her what to do. You set your butt down right now.
Hey, let me tell you something, Eddie Gilbert. We're getting tired of this. You're not going to tell us how to run championship wrestling. You're not, and the rest of the Gilbert's not. We'll run the business.
Why don't you go ask Eddie Murray, why don't you go ask Jerry, or anybody else that works in this promotion that's ever told me anything to do. If I don't want to do it, I won't do it. I don't like listen to authority. I don't like authority. Nobody tells me what to do.
You came out here last week and you burned Jerry Jarrett.
Right.
Jerry Jarrett worked his whole life, Eddie Gilbert, to build his wrestling career and build this business. And we're not going to have people in here. I don't want any more of it. Get out of here.
And if you ever realize
Eddie, you don't have to talk
put
to
the
him. We got a
Gilberts
break
around,
coming up
push
in
me.
here.
Well,
Get out of here
right now.
Eddie
You
Gilbert,
didn't
I
learn a
don't want
lesson from
I'm
Jerry,
not gonna
did
come out
you?
here.
You didn't learn a lesson from Jerry, did you, huh?
All right,
You might have learned.
Uh-oh.
Oh!
Doug grabs Lance, because Lance would have tried to help me. Ken Wayne out.
Let's take a break, and we'll be back here in just a minute.
Watch this bumper. First comments quickly, Pat Trammell.
Well, I like first thing I'll say is I like the snazzy elbow pads on the jacket there, but when you got the fire thrown at you, I mean, did it ever singe anything?
It was just hot. I tell you the story. I've told the story before. I like telling stories. I knew a lot of people. I was living in Memphis at the time, but I would go home on Saturday nights after Nashville, and I'd go to church with my mother, as a good son would. But I knew a lot of people in church watch the wrestling show, so I couldn't go to church looking normal. I just couldn't. I think a lot of bad things that happened in my life is because of this very reason. So I got up. I kayfabed my mother as well. I didn't let her see me with the makeup on me. I was made up, and so I got up early in the morning, put the dead gum makeup all on me, and went to church. And the elder of my church came rushing to me and said, I just had to see you, Marilla. That was his wife. He said, Marilla said you didn't get burned. See, Marilla, Randy is hurt. See, Marilla. So I went to church in character, injured, because I knew how hot that TV was.
That is dedication, man. My
Do
hat's
not
off.
break kayfabe.
Wow.
Do not break kayfabe.
Kayfabed his mother, man.
I'm
Wow.
telling you, Nick Goulas told me the first time that when he smartened me up, I lived this till this all came wide open. You don't tell anybody anything about this business or I'll kill you. And he was serious.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
Tojo
did.
said that to me. Tojo
Yeah,
said that to
I
me, and he
will
was
kill
serious.
you. And he was serious. I'd seen his gun. He was serious.
All
But
right, so everybody like that, Pat?
absolutely.
That was great. That was
Kayfabe your
great.
mama.
One more Eddie Gilbert story. We'll go a little over time today, but this show, this is what it is. And when we have the right song that we're writing, we're going to sing that song no matter how long it takes. This is good stuff. Pat has a great subject coming up, but we have one more thing. We want to show this is a parking lot brawl with Eddie Gilbert and Jerry Lawler. Watching it now on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Pat and Michael and Randy Hales with Adam Dunn producing. And I think I put it on there, and Adam, I either didn't put it on there, or Adam having trouble finding it, and if so, I, as a matter of fact, don't uh, uh, think is on there, and we will save that for next week. Will remind me, guys, to open up with that next week. Everything else is on there. So up to this point, we'll go with you, Pat. Up to this point, with you know who coming up as a subject. But what do you think of the show so far, Pat Trammell?
I have enjoyed it. I really, Eddie Gilbert was a special guy, and he was a very, very special talent that got taken from us far too soon. On his way really, really up. But I've enjoyed watching him work, and I mean, even when he was young, he was I mean, he was born fantastic in the ring.
Michael, you go ahead and give your thoughts of what we've seen so far on Talking Memphis Wrestling today.
5-star. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to use that term. It's great. It's great. But let me say something too about Eddie Gilbert. And you guys and Pat, I think you hit the nail on the head. You remember the film The Natural with the baseball player and all that?
Yes.
Eddie Gilbert could have been the star of that show if that show was about wrestling, because he was the natural. I mean, and to think about it, and this is what amazes, this blows my mind. Two of the premier wrestling photographers of that era turned out to be two of the biggest stars in the business, in Jimmy Cornette and Eddie Gilbert.
And there's no doubt about it at all. Talking Memphis Wrestling, and now very interesting situation because Pat's not much, just like Michael's not much on Facebook. I have more Facebook followers than I have anything else. There, I do Twitter and I do X and that sort of thing. But Pat had an interesting conversation with somebody the other day from Twitter, and we're going to let Pat then made a request to me to do the show, and so Pat, we'll go with you to explain that situation.
Well, I've got a Twitter friend named Richard Bunt from Ragland, Alabama, over the mountain in St. Clair County, the only town in Alabama with two county seats, Pell City and Asheville, because of the mountain. And Richard was asking about Dwayne Johnson's first run in Memphis, and or actually, I guess, really almost first run anywhere, but how he got the name, how he got booked, and how he got the name Flex Cabana.
Okay, before
Now, that was let me just say something, and y'all all know this. This was Dwayne Johnson's really first real run anywhere.
Absolutely. So before I set up the background there, up to this point, Flex Cavana's debut. What's your thoughts now, Pat? Oh, Michael, what are your thoughts at the time?
Well, I was there, and I have been looking. I was on my YouTube page, and it's not there anymore. There was actually a match on TV that I called, and I believe it was myself and Dave, where they used the name Rocky Johnson Jr. And then Flex Cavana, of course, that was the name that everybody remembers. And I think, and I, and I'm almost to the point. I'm not that old. I haven't forgot everything, but I'm almost to the point to sort of lay some money on the fact that somewhere out there is a match out of Memphis that was done at Memphis TV, where Dwayne was using the name, or where they gave him the name de fleur of Rocky Johnson Jr. Of course. But anyway, Flex Cavana, when he came in, he was an all-star line. Well, he was a star linebacker at the University of Miami. He played in the 92 championship game in New Orleans at the Superdome against Alabama, where Alabama with Gene Stallings wasn't supposed to win. They were going to get blown out by 35, and Alabama romped them. And he was a linebacker on that team. He had a great physique. He was one of these guys that was a gym rat, and he had great bloodlines. I mean, when you think Peter Maivia, the great wrestler and promoter out of the Hawaiian and the island territories, was his grandfather, and his dad, Rocky Johnson, was the first feud I ever worked in wrestling. The first deal I ever worked in wrestling at the Cook Convention Center when Jarrett just had first broke off with Nick Goulas. Was the main event was Jerry Lawler against Rocky Johnson, and the old 10-year-old in the dressing room that I met that first night with the crazy hair was Dewey, and he introduced me to Dewey, and Dewey was just a little quiet, nice, how you doing, fine, sir, kind of thing. And who would have thought? But God, what a star. If we'd have known then what we'd have known now, we'd have probably treated him a lot better.
That's for sure. Bruno treated him great, and look at Bruno now as far as that situation. I'm going to disagree with the tad of what you said. By that time I was booking the Memphis territory. It was 1996. First of all, I'm going to backtrack. I was assistant booker in 1987. Jerry Jarrett and I brought Rocky Johnson in. His son and wife came with him, and Dewey was going to most of the towns with The Rock. He was a 15-year-old kid and could have kicked anybody's ass in the territory. He was a big, good-looking kid. Fast forward to 96, and this is the memory that I have, very hands-on, completely 100% the booker of the territories. So we were called, and Jim Ross called me and said, would you want Dewey? And I said, he wrestles now? I thought he was playing football. And he said, no, it didn't work out. And we've signed him to a deal, would like him to come to Memphis. I said, hell, yeah. And that's what we did. And we had a date. So we booked cards. And I think instead of a match, because I can tell you, he never wrestled on Memphis TV as Rocky Johnson Jr. We did have cards booked, and you and Dave probably plugged a card and saying Rocky Johnson Jr. will be in Kennett, Missouri.
That could have been it. That could have been it.
Or someplace else, because I had the week before, I had a conversation with Jim Ross again. Jim Ross said, "Are you ready for Dewey?" I said, "Yeah, man, I can't wait for him to come, man. Can't wait for him to come. We'll shoot an angle, have the Hills eventually jump on him, and we'll bring Rocky in, father-son tag team. It'll be great." He said, "Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't do that." Now, I didn't tell him about that, and it was South Fulton, Kentucky. He was billed as Dwayne Johnson week before the TV debut. Anyway, Jim Ross said to me, when I said, "Well, shoot angle," said, "You can't do that." I said, "That'll draw money." He said, "Vince, last minute changed his name to Flex Cavana. They don't want to acknowledge he's a Mavia or a Johnson or anything like that, you got to call him Flex Cabana. So that's the situation. So we changed everything. So then on the first week's TV, and you'll see that in just a minute, it was booked at that point. Now, I didn't go to the town because it was South Fulton, Kentucky, but that night, Wolfie D and Jamie Dundee called me and said, "Do you have Dewey on TV tomorrow?" I've told this story before. I said, "Yes, sir." They said, he was the shits. He said, you can't put him on TV. Said he's absolutely horrible. I said, who did he work? And they told me, and I forgot who it was. And then I said, don't worry about it, because they'll be fine. The debut, and I'm not going to introduce what the match is. The introduction of Flex Cabana to Memphis, Tennessee was a tag team match with Brian Christopher. This is the introduction of Flex Cabana, and I hope to God I have that on the stuff on the back of it. If not, this show's going to hell thanks to me. But if that match is there, play it, Adam.
Okay, Lancer, let's do it. Right here today, it's a USWA Tag Team Title Match. First introducing the current holders of the USWA Tag Team titles. Coming in today at a combined weight of 441 pounds. From Australia, the superstar, Bill Dundee. And his partner wrestling out of Memphis, Tennessee, here is the King, Jerry Lawler. Lawler and Dundee, the current holders of the tag team titles. Their opponents today coming in at a combined weight of 495 pounds. From Memphis, Tennessee, Too Sexy, Brian Christopher. And his partner making his very first appearance here in the USWA from the islands of Hawaii. Here is Flex Cabana. Flex Cabana. We're ready for action. Bill Rush, the official referee. Let's send it over now to my buddies, Lance and Dave.
Well, this is the way you get it started for real, isn't it, Dave? I got to tell you, when you got a team, Brian Christopher, Flex Cabana.
June 8th, 1996.
I just wanted to come
He
over here
debuted on television as a professional wrestler of The Rock, who was born on May the 2nd, 1972. So what's this, Michael, 24 years later, right?
This man heard what you said. You said that you
24
make up
years later,
for the lack
24
of big muscles with your ability. Will you make up for the lack of big muscles with your big fat mouths? And me and Flex are gonna shut up for you today, and we're walking out of here the new USWA Tag Team Champions.
You know, it's as simple as this. It's very short, quick, and simple. We're very naughty by nature, and we're very violent by decision. You know what? I'm done talking. Get ready, because here we come.
There they go, headed for the ring, Flex Cabana.
This is why I have all the confidence in the world
We also know the champions, the superstar, and the
with
king.
this match. Their opponents, Pat and Michael, Jerry Lawler, and Bill Dundee. Don't you think we were okay?
They can get a good match out of me and Michael.
Indeed, indeed. I don't remember this, and this was, you said 96, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, this was right,
June the 8th, 1996.
because it was shortly thereafter I started coming down from St. Louis, but I don't remember the configuration in the studio being this bright, and with the checkerboard floor mat. For some reason, I just don't remember this configuration of the studio.
Have used in the match. I was a little shocked last week at some of the things that I saw going on as they won the titles. We'll see what happens here today.
Scoop Slam. Christopher slams Lawler down. 3
So we go with Brian,
Here comes Dundee.
starting up the match.
Slammed him. And off and running, and I mean full tilt, is Brian Christopher as he handled Lawler and Dundee consecutively. And we have
And the whole idea here was not to expose The Rock or Flex Savannah. He wasn't The Rock yet. This, Brian, is the Rock's first ever TV promo match
Exuded
ever.
confidence as he stepped into the ring, and he's certainly showing it here today. He has had all kinds
The
of
ring
championship
entrant is
belts
Adam
himself,
Stellis,
no
Michael
stranger to
changed in
titles.
1997,
And he
as
and his
well as
partner,
the
he feels, even more
background
confident with,
lights
Flex
changed
Cabana
some
standing over
as
his, corner as a
well
partner.
in 1997. That's when you came back
Right.
Something
and worked with Lance after Dave, Corey, and me were gone.
That's right.
That's the Burton era.
Well, I also worked some coming down from St. Louis, and I was in St. Louis. I want to say late '96, right around the holidays. I came down for a show. I got flown in one time, and then decided to try. I had a brand new 3000 GT, and decided to put some miles on it coming down I-55. And I remember it, but I just didn't remember this color combination or the studio configuration.
Lawler a little disgusted. The referee checking with Brian to see what happened, because he has been informed by the team of Lawler and Dundee that Christopher pulled tights. That's what Dundee is saying. They tie it up again, back in the corner.
Dwayne had to be nervous as hell. First ever on television was a competitor. And he's going against the star, Bill Dundee, Jerry Lawler, Brian Christopher is his partner. And so he can get over by just his look. Would you say movie star look there, Pat Trammell?
Absolutely.
I wasn't a big fan of that haircut.
No, I wasn't crazy about that myself.
Fans on the front row chanting super kick, super kick. They want to see Brian unleash one.
I want to see his partner get in there and unleash one. See what he looks like.
That's what Lawler has just said. Said, hey, why don't you go to the corner? Let's see what your partner can do, huh? I said, okay. Here comes Flex Cabana. First look at him on USW.
First lockup ever as a professional wrestler on TV.
He's a big dude.
June the 8th, 1996. WMC TV studios in Memphis, Tennessee.
Stack him upside.
Call this first move, Michael.
But as Lawler said,
Lock it up, collar and elbow, side headlock by Lawler.
with that experience and
Flex Cabana caught. Off the rope, shoots him. Catches him with the elbow coming off, and Flex popped him right back up. Lawler.
Exactly what Lance said.
Crisscross. Double lead. And a front double leg lift.
Oh, yeah.
Couple of arm drag takedowns, and Flex Cabana locks it in, and Lawler scoots to the ropes.
Dundee livid. Yeah, screaming he pulled his hair. He did not.
I think I still got it. It's just hard
Lawler
to
immediately got
get
over
into
to
the
the
rhythm
side
without
of the
being
ring
there.
and wrapped both feet around the bottom rope. And now Lawler and Dundee are outside
Maybe I
the
don't
ring.
have it. Who knows?
And maybe they
Yeah,
didn't
you got it.
exactly want to see what Flex Cabana can
Would you
do.
disagree
So
with
Mr.
Jamie
Cabana
Whoopi saying Flex is horrible?
They've seen it
I would say he's a little
already. They know
stiff,
that this guy
but
can
I wouldn't
go.
say he's
This is
horrible.
not the first time he's
And
had
he's
a
green,
tight
but we knew
on.
that
There's
going
the
in.
tag on the
Sure,
superstar. In he comes. He'll be tangling for the first time with Cabana.
Lawler and Dundee not impressed early on. But now that they've seen not only Brian, but Cabana, you got to wonder, would their confidence be shaken? Do they now feel, hey, these belts are in jeopardy?
Well, I don't know, Dave. We both know Lawler and Dundee, and it takes a lot to shake the confidence of these two veterans. Dundee right straight at him, and immediately he's pushed off and down on the floor again, almost rolls out to the concrete floor. And Lawler comes in, puts the finger out. I don't know exactly what
I think he's working the match the correct way. Let this the big boy, the big strength, the big, overpower it first, and then
get the referee watching their opponent more closely.
listening to Dave. And then the seasoned athletes come back and figure a way to get to him. Leapfrog.
Dundee down on the deck.
Didn't get up very high on that drop kick.
But by golly, it put Dundee on the deck.
I think that shows some of the power of Flex Cavana. He did not get a good drop kick, but Dundee was fairly close to him, and it knocked Dundee back, especially considering what Dundee had been through up until the kick hit him.
And Lawler takes back over again. Brian Christopher, not an unusual role for him. He's over there cheerleading, and boy, his eyes are glistening, Dave. Brian loves this competition, and he's got him a partner he can swing with.
Yeah, watch out for that left fist, Flex Cavana. Yep, there it comes. We saw Lawler do the same thing last week against his opponent as he and Dundee won these belts.
Cavana coming straight after him. He took that shot from Lawler with that left hand, and it headed right after him, and Lawler thought it'd be a good time to get the referee involved and keep those fists from flying.
Using the referee as a shield.
Yeah.
It was effective, and that speaks well for Mr. Cavana. He backed up rather than taking a swing and taking a chance on hitting the referee.
Lawler over to have a word with Bill Dundee. You still, regardless of how impressive Christopher and Cavana have looked, you still got to say, from the outside, Dundee rips with a right hand and another one.
You hear the crowd going, "Go Flex, go!"
Jerry goes over at Brian Christopher, and Dundee working on
Just a quick note to DC. DC, I sent you a Facebook messenger.
Lawler holding. Dundee pitching.
Cover 1, 2, oh, Flex Cavana throws Dundee about 3 feet in the air to break out of it at a 2 count. Dundee immediately over to the corner, the tag on Lawler. They double him up. Flex Cavana into the ropes. The upper arms from both of them. Dundee celebrating. He thinks maybe
I'm sorry, Richard, what question did you ask?
The match continues. USWA tag titles on the line here. The
All I
champion,
see is
Lawler,
Randy
Dundee.
isn't.
And the right fist again doubled up, puts Cavana on the mat.
3:38 left in this match.
Cavana making a deep impression, but don't forget this guy. Here comes Too Sexy, pounding away. Lawler taking a shot first from Christopher, then from Cavana. A little coconut crush there as Christopher hammered their heads together, and now Dundee caught by Cavana, Lawler by Christopher. Into the ropes they go. Trying to get around behind. A double abdominal stretch on Dundee and Lawler. And the referee clobbered by Dundee. Bill rushed down on the deck while Christopher and Cavana holding on to the abdominal stretches. Dundee reached out, Dave, and just hammered him with that left hand.
That's one of those things we were talking about. Dundee did that on purpose. That's going to get him disqualified. These guys are in danger of losing the match right here. He nails the referee. That's a DQ. So Lawler and Dundee are going to keep the belts on the disqualification. No signal from the referee, but mark my word, that's what it's got to be. I mean, Dundee just point blank nailed him with a fist.
Brian Christopher a little premature. He grabs the belts and he's indicating they are the new champs. That would be a difficult thing to believe because the referee turned around and signaled the bell. Of course, it could have been submission on the legal man in the ring, and now Rush is saying they are the winners.
Yep,
You know that, Richard?
What you said,
Not so much a coincidence.
Well, I hate to see that, and the match does.
They
The
just-
belts don't change hands on the disqualification.
Well,
But
special
really, the
people,
referee had no choice.
they
When
wanted
he
to
is
send
hammered
him
like
against
that,
somebody they knew.
all he can do is
They just
disqualify
didn't know
Dundee and Lawler.
how
There should be
good
a
they would
fine
be.
attached to it.
And same thing with the free vote, same thing with Flex. They wanted to put them in the
Yeah,
ring
well,
with
you
all
call
of
it
that.
brains, we may call it something else.
I call it purposely hitting the referee. We got to take a break. That's all. No more.
You know, the booth at Channel 5 was so good on those bumpers, bringing back that replay and showing that replay. I mean, I don't even think that the AEW and the WWE stuff today is as good as some of that stuff they put together. Of course, like you said, it wasn't as flamboyant, but boy, they were right there. They knew the hot spot to pick it up at.
BC, we'll bring him in just a few minutes. We have one deal to go, and this is the Flex Cabana's final appearance. This was his final appearance on Memphis TV. This was August the 24th, TV, USWA. We watch it now.
Lawler against this man, Flex Cabana. The match just about to happen.
You know, that's right, Dave. When they told me earlier this week that I was going to wrestle Jerry the King Lawler, I did a little thinking, Dave. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? Week in and week out, whether it's here in the USWA or whether it's Monday Night Raw with the WWF, Jerry Lawler is always running his mouth. Well, I thought about it, Dave, and you know what? If Jerry Lawler says that he's half the man he thinks he is, then he'll give me a title shot. He'll give me a unified world title shot right here Saturday morning on TV, right in front of all the good people of the USWA.
Well, I'd love to have that.
We're fixing to see your buddy.
This match is signed as
Pat.
a title match, so I don't know if he's not always that easy to convince, and I'm sure the promoters would like time to promote the title match and all of that. But it sounds like a wonderful idea if he would agree to it. Here he is right here, the King.
Well. We got Flex Cabana out here trying to play a
There's
little
my pal.
mind game with the King. Trying to make a few little witty comments. I understand he spends half his time trying to be witty. That makes him a half-wit, right? Let me tell you something, Flex. You know, I was playing mind games with people like you probably when you were still wearing diapers. So let me tell you, you're not going to be able to get one up on the King and get me to fall for your little trick of putting my title at stake when you got nothing at stake. See, that means I got everything to lose and nothing to gain, right? Am I right or wrong, huh?
We messed up on time here, Michael.
I'm
As
still
far
good.
as this show in '96, we didn't have not enough time as we needed for this.
I'd lose the shades, but other than
I'm
that,
watching Channel 54 here. They're about to go into the school closing. I just want to make sure we got them all.
make this match we're fixing to have
Do you got to go?
world heavyweight
No, let me. I'm watching on the other screen here. So far, so good.
Lassie, come home. Flex, under one condition.
Being on a vacation for a
If
very
you
long
win,
time.
you leave here with this belt and you're the champion.
Sounds good. Championship match.
Stay with us, BC.
If I win, you just leave here. Get it? You leave here with no belt. I mean, you leave and you don't come back. You leave the USWA, and then I don't have to worry about punks like you trying to trick me out of my
Jonesboro
life.
High School closed. The whole entire Jonesboro school district closed tomorrow.
Flex, I mean, it's a title match. Maybe it's another title match down the road for you here, without such a stipulation. You look, because you lose, you're out of here. That's.
You know what, Dave? Success is all about opportunity. This is
Okay,
my
they've got a
opportunity
couple
right
of
here,
things
right
on
now.
here that I don't have. I'm going to have to take the lead of this thing. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Everybody,
Hey.
Michael St. John.
Hey, to Pat, good talking to you. Good seeing you in with you. Randy, thank you for everything. Appreciate you allowing me to be on the show, and thanks to all our fans tonight. Great crowd. Thank you all so much.
Go be a broadcaster.
I'm flipping on the old tie line right now.
All right, Pat, credit your friend that suggested this. Have we lost Pat?
No, I'm here.
Who was your friend that asked about this?
Richard Blunt from Ragland, Alabama.
Westside School, Jonesboro closed tomorrow. Valley View School closed tomorrow. Madison School closed tomorrow. Truman School closed tomorrow. Jonesboro School closed tomorrow. Not seeing anything about the Nettleton School District right now.
Time is winding down. This expiration of time match here. Just underway.
BC, hang on, buddy. I'll get you on. Pat, whichever one you want to do, you can have the conversation with me with BC, or you can do your final thoughts. Then I'll bring in BC. See, and you can go. It'll be up to you.
Okay.
So we're watching Jerry Lawler, the greatest professional wrestler I've ever seen. Sean, appreciate you watching. We are looking at the Memphis career of Flex Cabana, Dwayne Johnson, a.k.a. The Rock, debuted in Memphis June the 8th of 1996, teaming with Ryan Christopher in the match we saw against Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee. His final match was this match right here in August of 96, August the 24th.
The bell has not sounded to end the match.
Title versus Leaving Town.
World title at stake. Lawler put the belt at stake. If Flex Cabana loses, he's out of the USWA, and they have been battling.
I'll tell you, Adam made a good point backstage. The timing of this is so much crisper with just Lawler working with Flex.
We've got 15 seconds before we're going to have to leave the air.
This 15 seconds left in the show. Lawler goes for the chain. Fayetteville, Arkansas School Districts. All closed.
Is that Orndorff?
That's Bart Sawyer.
Okay.
That was the USWA Tag Team Champion with The Rock. Lawler gets the win. And boom, that's the show.
That's a very good match.
And
I don't know how long he was there, but you could tell he grew a lot in that period of time. That was a great match for Lawler. A very good technical match.
June 8th to August the 24th.
Okay. Okay.
So do you think we told the story to your buddy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope he was able to catch it. Yeah.
He'll see the archive for sure. Stewart says brilliant Lawler, that's why he's king. And I was a nervous wreck in that booth thinking we not getting this in, and especially when they said 15 seconds, I said we're gonna get it in, but Lawler's so pro. So pro. You want to stay for BC's quick comments, or
Yeah.
you want to just you want to stay with us?
Yeah.
BC, this has been a loaded show. Your comments, we'll start from the start. What did you think about the beginning of the show and most of the show, the deep dive on Eddie Gilbert's career in Memphis?
Eddie Gilbert was a favorite of mine. I started noticing him through the magazines around '86, and I was eventually, for the first time, able to see him in the Mid-South area when it started to be the UWF. I didn't have cable. Some local television station picked up UWF, and this was about 6 months or so before Crockett merged with them finally in '87 before the Starcade. But he was one of my favorites. I liked his style. He wasn't the biggest guy in the world, and over time, just reading about him and hearing about him, it seemed like he was a guy that loved the business and was very wore his heart on his sleeve and cared about it enough to be that hothead and the guy sometimes that was a little bit hard to get along with. Great booker, from what I understand. He was part of a lot of things when he came to WCW in '89 back to WCW. He brought Ricky Steamboat in, wrestled Ric Flair and Barry Windham on TBS at Techwood Drive. That's one of the greatest moments that ever happened at that studio. I believe he was booking then, maybe butted heads with Kevin Sullivan, didn't work out. ECW was in his future, realigning with Paul Heyman, and it just went on from there. And it's a great talent, and I think if Eddie Gilbert were around today, he would be involved in this business, no doubt. He would be a producer, uh, some kind of trainer. He would definitely be a part of it.
Very good thoughts. What did you think of the other videos as far as Eddie Gilbert was concerned, the other stuff we showed today?
In Memphis, yes, those are just some great refreshers to see that. That's the stuff, Randy, that I was looking at in the magazines, and then later on in life, when the internet comes around, you can actually see that happen in that studio, and what he did there was just incredible. Nobody at that time was really, you know, or in that area was so good on the mic like he was, and he was a Jerry Lawler. That was his guy. That's what he grew up admiring and later on he wanted to bring those angles back when he was booking, and it would work out for him. But yeah, those are some great times and great moments from Eddie Gilbert there in the studio.
David Smith, I would guess Eddie was 5'9". I'm just on top of my head. As Pat, why don't you help me out here and talk to BC about the stuff we just watched on Flex Cavana. You lead this part of the interview, Pat.
Brad, it struck me as to how much better a match Flex the Rock wrestled just a single match with Lawler versus kind of the chaos of the team match. And I wondered, and that was 2 months later, right, Randy? But it
Yes.
did look like, and I assume he had been working with Lawler some through the period here and Dundee and others, but he looked like a different wrestler to me 3 months later.
It's like it's perfect timing that you show that, because that was when I was able to watch USWA wrestling. It was on a local television station when I actually had cable, and it came on Thursday nights. I was working overnights at a radio station, so I slept all day, and I'd wake up at 6 in the evening, but that would come on at like 7 or 8, so I'd watch it before I'd go to work on Thursdays. I think it was Thursday nights, and that was I remember that match. I remember when he went on with Bart Sawyer as the USWA tag champion. I just remember, that time of the USWA there. But yes, to answer your question, what he looked in the ring there, it's just amazing. The guy had it, Lawler knew it, uh, and he's pushing him to get in and to the next level, moving up to where he is.
Hey, we're doing on the overtime right now, so we got to wrap it up. Any final comments, Brad? And then Pat and I'll close it out. Any
None,
final
man.
comments?
I appreciate the show tonight, Randy. It was a great switch from what you have been doing just to honor Eddie Gilbert, because he's a big. I was a big fan of his growing up and all. Look forward to next week though, when you get back on track with the gear review 86.
87. The most,
87.
I think we'll talk about this, Pat, next week, but we're going to show one of the most famous matches in Memphis history, the Cage Idol Lawler, where Rich came through the cage. Would you consider that one of the top five?
My top five, absolutely,
Yeah.
no question about it.
With the debate, it
That is
could
a
be number
Memphis
one.
moment.
Yeah, yeah, top three.
I would say number one in my fandom would be Al Green's Jackie Fargo, July 1972, the first sellout ever at the Mid-South Coliseum. Pat or BC, we appreciate you joining us. Sorry this was so quick, but I knew you were here the whole show. Wanted to get you in.
Thank you very much for inviting me on anytime.
Me and Pat will do a show in March after the Elimination Chamber. We'll try to be back with you for a Randy Hill show. You're welcome to join us then.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. BC Brad Collins, everybody. Appreciate it very much. Wow. It is 9:13. This is like the good old days when we used to go late every time, man.
I know, but a lot of good stuff to talk about and a lot of great audience participation and our friends chiming in. I learn a lot when they do that, and I really appreciate it.
What's your plans coming up? Are you going to be here next Tuesday? I don't think so.
No, I'm not going to be here next Tuesday. I'm going to be out west.
Hey, I think, what date is that?
uh, well, it's the 25th.
25th. My, I take the car in on the 28th. which is bad timing because I take it in, having transmission problems, folks. Then they had to figure me in. I take them in the 28th, but the problem with that, Pat, is it's like a 35-hour job, and so they'll work on it Friday, and then they're not open Saturday or Sunday, so I'll miss the first of driving. But you have to look at the term story, right? So I'll be sitting at home, so I'll probably talk to you on the phone because I'll be bored out of my mind. I'll get so far ahead on this kind of work, laying out shows, no telling what we'll have.
Well, yeah, we'll get the rest of the year laid out.
All right, final words from Pat Trammell. And Pat, I'm going to say bye-bye, everybody. I appreciate Michael, appreciate BC, appreciate Greg Wayne, appreciate the other gentleman. I forgot, William, I think was his name.
Yep. Well, his dad wrestled for Dad wrestled for Nick.
That's pretty cool too. So my goal for the Randy Hill show when we do it is to do this, and we really don't have the time to do it, but I thought it was important to bring a few people in today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Randy Hills, and now I'm going to go off the screen, and 100% it's on Pat Trammell. I'm putting the pressure on you, Pat, putting the pressure on you. I'm going away, and Pat Trammell can do whatever, whether it's a minute or 10 minutes. Adam's probably hoping it's not 10 minutes, but I'm going away. Bye-bye, everybody. Here's Pat Trammell.
Well, thank you all for being with us tonight. It's been a lot of fun. It was a great show, and I appreciate really being with Randy and Michael and Adam. And you know, I tell you, anytime you talk about somebody's passing, it's tough. But we got a lot of happiness out of watching that guy, and some good stuff with Flex Cavana. And appreciate you all being here. And we'll see you next week. For Randy.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special